A pleasant day to each and every one of you. I am Sarah, your podcaster for today. I am here to talk and discuss about our topic for this week. It's all about value formation and teaching as a vocation, mission, and profession. Before we start our discussion, let me tell you a quote for this day, or a quote of the day. It says, "A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops," by Henry Adams. So if the student fails to learn, the teacher fails to teach. So now, let's proceed to our main discussion. Is there such thing as unchanging and universal values? Is a right value for me also a right value for you? Or are all values dependent on time, place, and culture? The varied answers to these questions depending on the group where you belong. The values of love, care, and concern for all people, regardless of time and space. These values are called transcendent values. They remain unchanged in the midst of changing times. It is beyond times, space, and people. It is an extraordinary or beyond human experience. For example, talking to God through prayer, being beyond the limits of experience and hence unknowable, we are still talking and believing that He hears us, valuing the intimate relationship with God regardless of the things around us. The dimension of values. Values are thought and caught. It means that values and behaviors are learned from the people who practice around us, such as families and teachers that teaches us to have good values. The values that we actually live are rather than purely taught and caught. There are three dimensions of values. First, the cognitive dimension. This is a heart of conversion and values formation. Cognitive dimension is talk about our understanding to the value that we want to obtain as a person. Second, affective dimension. It is the feelings and emotional aspects in which includes particular attitudes and habits associated with learning. Examples includes our self-direction, motivation, and positive thinking. And lastly, the behavioral dimension. It focuses on the social interactions, individual or groups. Values have cognitive, affective, and behavioral dimensions. We need to know to live by threat value. These are the concepts that ought to be taught. Values are in the affective domain of objectives. For instance, it is not enough to know what honesty is, or why one should be honest, but to practice and make a habit of being honest. Values formation is a training of the intellect and will. The values formation is the training of the intellect and will. Our intellect functions is to form an ideas, to make judgments, and reasoning. However, our will is to act on the right value or will to act on the wrong value. The intellect proposes an action, and our will is dispose an action. Our will should be developed and strong enough to act on good and avoid an evil that the intellect presents in our mind. Having a strong will gives more control of your mind and life. It improves decision-making skills and increases an opportunity for creativity. Having a strong will can create many choices on what you think, your emotional reaction, and how to act rather than limiting your choices by being an auto response. Virtuous life versus vicious life and their effect on the will. Virtuous life means strengthen you to live by the right values and live a life of abundances and joy. Being a virtuous person means acquired to good habits and develop behaviors, attitudes, and actions by choosing a right actions and decisions. A constant effort to do things in spite of obstacles and difficulties possesses of being a virtuous person. However, a vicious life, a perdition and misery life, a violent and living in an immoral act. We must attain living in a virtuous life because virtue brings peace, strength of character, and happiness in life. Our Heavenly Father knew that we would be faced with many choices and challenges, and virtuous living would prepare us to succeed. Max Scheller's Hierarchy of Values. Max Scheller's hierarchy of values refers to an ordered list of social values that influence the judicial decision-making. The value hierarchy cannot and should not only be used to achieve the goals of classic personality development. It also makes sense to define moral and social values precisely so that you can behave the way you want to. Pleasant values is the lowest hierarchy that talks about the sensual feelings such as food, water, sex, breathing, sleep, excretion, and etc. Experiencing the pleasures and desires as a human person. Vital values, it pertains to the well-being of the individual in the community, encompass the widely understood ideas of physical culture, health promotion, and ecology. Spiritual values are values independent of the whole sphere of the body and the environment. It grasps in spiritual acts of preferring loving and hating. Aesthetic values, the beauty against ugliness, values of right and wrong, and values of pure knowledge. Values of the whole, holy, is the highest form of hierarchy of values. The sacred and hallowed beliefs, some things which are the objects of worship of veneration. Holy meant the divine or that which has sanctity directly from the absolute sphere. So those are the hierarchy of values by Max Scheler. Our concerns must go beyond the caring of our body healthy. Hindi lang natin dapat binibigyang importansya ang pagkakaroon ng maayos at magandang pangangatawan, magandang kalusugan, at pagsunod sa mga pleasures and desires ng ating pisikal na katawan. Kundi mas bigyang kahalagahan din natin ang ating spiritual aspects ng ating buhay. It says that man is an embodied spirit, and so, we also need to be concerned with matters of the spirit, like appreciation of what is right and what is beautiful. We also need to live in holiness, live with a purpose, and see the beauty and teaching of life. Values clarification. Values help us live with direction and purpose, like a guiding compass. Whatever is going on in our lives, our values can show us a path forward and help us to make better choices. Our values must be clarified of what we really value. Having a clear and set of values help to understand what we stand for. For example, if you value respect, You have chosen it freely, chosen from among alternatives. You are proud of it, and so you are not ashamed for others to know your values. You practice it daily in your life. Make it a habit to respect others. A clear picture of our personal values allow us to rank the tasks on our to-do list according to how closely each task is associated with what's really important to us. You clarify your own values by asking yourself whether a value is truly important to you or something you think you should have. Ask yourself when you'd most hurt by value being violated or absent from your life. Ask yourself which values you most admire in others or seek out in friendship. Teaching as a vocation, mission, and profession. Teaching is a profession but more of vocation. Teachers' role is to educate and enable the world to become knowledgeable and independent one. It requires knowledge, skills, and experiences to become worthy in the profession. Teachers do not only teach and impart knowledge, but inspire and motivate students for life and take important steps in life. They keep boosting the confidence of students and directing them in the right direction. So if we teach because we are being paid with our services and felt responsible to educate students, then it is a job. But if we keep on teaching, regardless if we don't receive payment or recognition, but because of love, compassion, and faithful to meet the needs of the students, it is a mission. Teaching is the one profession that creates all other professions.